Hello dear students, I Dr. Bindya Sharma welcome you all to the second video lecture on infrared spectroscopy. In the previous lecture on infrared spectroscopy, we have discussed the principle of infrared spectroscopy in detail, and in this lecture we will be discussing the instrumentation and application of infrared spectroscopy. So let's start with the instrumentation of infrared spectroscopy. For the study of infrared spectroscopy in infrared region, the infrared spectrophotometers are used, which have the device of both producing and recording the spectra. Most of the spectrophotometers work in the range of 2 to 17 micron meter. Mostly the UV spectrophotometer contains three major parts: source of radiation, monochromators, for example, cells and prism, and detectors. So the types of infrared spectrophotometers are, there are four types. First, dispersive grating spectrophotometers, which are used for qualitative measurements. Non-dispersive photometers, which are used for quantitative determination. Reflectance photometer and FTIR, the most important, Fourier transform infrared spectrophotometers for both qualitative as well as the quantitative measurement. So therefore, they are most important amongst all the four. So the double beam spectrophotometer and single beam spectrophotometer both can be used. So in double beam spectrophotometers, we know that they are used to avoid the problems in the interpretation of the bands in IR spectrum. In double beam spectrophotometer, the beam of the radiation, IR radiation emitted by the source is again chopped or splitted into two similar beams which have got the equal intensity. And amongst the two beams, one of the beam passes through the reference cell which contain air or the pure solvent, while the other beam passes through the sample. The two beams are combined on the same axis, alternately passed through the slit of monochromator and goes to the detector for recording of the results. So the IR instrumentation, which is of dispersive spectrophotometer or spectrometer types, and the Fourier transform spectrometer type. So in dispersive sequential mode, it is a kind of sequential mode, whereas in FTIR, simultaneous analysis of the complete spectral range using interferometry is being done. So dispersive IR instrument, the most common important these components are the lamp, the sample holder, the selector, the detector, as well as finally the signal processor and the readout. Now, the Fourier transform spectrometers, which are most important, what happens, why they are so important? The simultaneous analysis of full spectral range using interferometry is being done through FTIR. It is developed to overcome the limitations which are encountered by the dispersive instrument. Especially, their dispersive instruments are slow, they have slow speed due to individual measurement of molecules or atoms. So interferometer, it utilizes, FTIR utilizes interferometer, which is a special instrument which can read IR frequencies simultaneously. So it is a faster method than dispersive instrument. And the majority of commercial available FTIR instrument are based upon the Michelson interferometer. So this is the diagram of a simple ray diagram for the double beam infrared spectrophotometer. So we can see here, we have the source of radiation, IR radiation. With the help of these are the mirrors. So this is because it is a double beam spectrophotometer. So first of all, a single beam is divided into two beams of equal intensities, and one passes through the sample and the other passes through the reference. Again, we have got the set of mirrors, and finally we have got a rotating prism, and again these both the two rays which are coming out of the sample and reference are being compared and they are sent to the detector and finally to the recorder, and we get a IR spectrum. So these are the main parts of double beam spectrophotometer. Let's see the different parts one by one in detail. So first is the light source or the source of IR radiation. So the infrared sources consist of inert solid which is electrically heated between the temperature, very high temperature of 1500 to 2200 Kelvin. The heated material starts emitting the infrared radiation. A few examples of the source of IR radiation are Nernst Glover and Globar. See this Nernst Glover, this is the photograph of the Nernst Glover. This is the filament containing oxides of zirconium, thorium, yttrium and selenium which are held together, and whereas the glow bar, it is a bonded silicon carbide rod. This is the bonded silicon carbide rod which is electrically heated to produce the IR radiation. So the source of infrared radiation can be Nernst Glover or the glow bar. Next, we have monochromators, and the role of monochromator was very well understood when we were studying the UV visible for spectroscopy. So the monochromator is used to select the a particular wavelength, a monochromatic wavelength. What is monochromatic wavelength? The wavelength of a single, that is wavelength. Single wavelength light is a monochromatic radiation. So it is a device which is used to isolate the radiation of a desired wavelength from the wavelength of the continuous spectra. The next part is cells and prism. So the glass and the quartz are well suited metals for IR radiation. IR cells and prism cannot be made of glass, because why? The glass and quartz as well as the metals, they are not suitable actually. Why they are not suitable? So whenever we are choosing any kind of material, because we are choosing here for infrared radiation, so we have to keep this in our minds that the cells or the prism, whenever they are to be made, they should not be made of such material which tend to absorb infrared radiation. Otherwise, we won't get a proper spectrum and our spectra would differ or change, alter. So, they are never made of glass, quartz, or any other metals. Because these materials tend to absorb infrared radiation. So what to do then? So they are commonly, usually made of common salt, NaCl or KBr, because these two, that is NaCl and KBr, they won't absorb any infrared radiation. So sodium chloride cells are brittle and they crack easily. They have their own advantages and limitations. Further, the gratings provide greater resolving power than prism. So gratings can also be used instead of prism. So this was about the cells and prism. And the very important part of the infrared spectrophotometer is the detector. So infrared detector is a detector that reacts to the infrared radiation. So basically the detector would detect the absorption of the infrared radiation by the sample. And we have got two main types of detectors. One is thermal, other is photonic or the photodetectors. So let's see one by one. In the thermal detector, we have got that so many examples like bolometers, thermocouple, Galois cell, pyroelectric detectors, all four comes under the thermal detector. So the thermal detector, in a thermal detector, the incident radiation, that is the infrared radiation, is absorbed to change the material temperature, and the resultant change in some physical properties which is used to generate an electrical output. So the signal does not depend on photonic nature. Therefore, it is termed as the thermal detectors. Thermal effects are generally wavelength independent. They does not depend on the wavelength. So we have got bolometers, thermocouple, Galois cells and pyroelectric detectors. Let's see how they work, all the four, one by one. Before that, let us see photon detectors. Few examples of photon detectors are photomultipliers, photoresistances, photodiodes. A photon detector, the radiation is absorbed within the material by the interaction of electrons which are bound to the atoms or to the impurity atoms or free electrons. The observed electrical output signal results from the change electronic energy distribution. So we can see with the help of this diagram that the radiations are let in, which brings about the change here, and then we are having some kind of electric signals. So by the help of those signals, that is output signals, the detector can easily detect the radiations which are coming out, that is the radiant radiation or the absorbed radiation. Let's see the thermal detectors one by one. So we have got bolometers. So bolometer is a type of resistance thermometer, thermometer or detector, which is constructed from strips of metals like platinum or nickel or from a semiconductor. So it forms one of the arm of a Wheatstone bridge. This can be seen with the help of this diagram. Also, when no radiation falls, the bridge remains balanced. But if radiation falls, the bridge becomes imbalanced. So this is how bolometers work. Let's see how thermocouple works. So thermocouple is basically based on the fact that an electric current will flow when two dissimilar metal wires are connected together at both ends. So we have one end at this point where IR radiations are falling. We have got it is called the hot junction or the hot end, whereas opposite to this is the reference junction or the cold end. So the end exposed to IR is the hot junction. In order to increase the gathering efficiency, it is usually a kind of a black body is being used. The other is the cold junction and is thermally insulated, and it is screened from stray light. The electricity flows is directly proportional to the energy differential between the two connections. This is how a thermocouple works. Golay cell. So Golay cell are termed as the gas thermodetectors. So we have a small metal cylinder which is closed by a blackened metal plate at one end by a flexible diaphragm on the other end. So after filling the cylinder with some kind of inert gas like xenon, it is sealed. When infrared radiation are allowed to fall on the blackened this metal plate, it heats up the gas which is filled inside it, and it causes the gas to expand. The signal is seen by the phototube with the power of the radiant beam incident on the gas cell. This is how the Golay cell works. Next, last one was pyroelectric detector. So pyroelectric detector consists of a pyroelectric material, which is an insulator basically with thermal and electrical property, for example, triglycine sulfate. So whenever an electric field is applied across any dielectric material, so the electric polarization will takes place. So this is how it is placed. It pyroelectric material, these are the two electrodes having the black coating over it. So pyroelectric detectors are again the type of thermal detectors. Next category was of the photon detectors. We have variety of photon detectors. For example, photoconductive detector, where the electrical conductivity of the material changes as a function of intensity of incident light. We have also got photovoltaic photon detectors. So these detectors contain a PN semiconductor junction called as photodiodes. We have also got photoemissive photon type of detectors. So these are the detectors which are used, which use the photoelectric effect, in which the incident photons from the surface of the detector material free the electrons. Means the incident photons will fall on the surface and they will release the electrons from the surface of the detector material, and thus the radiations will be detected. Now these were all about the detectors. Now let's see the procedure, how this IR spectroscopy or the spectrophotometer entire procedure is carried out. In infrared, the sample is located between the source and the monochromator. So the radiation produced from an IR source is made to fall on the beam splitter because it needs to split the beam into two equivalent or the two half beams. which are again, they need to fall on one on the sample and other will be made to fall on the reference. The beam emerging from the reference cell is made to fall on the chopper through an attenuator, while the radiation from the sample is sent directly onto the chopper. The chopper alternately allows the reference beam or the sample beam to enter into the monochromator. The beams after dispersion by the help of monochromator tend to fall on the detector. The signals originating from the detectors are suitably processed and sent to the recorder for an output in the form of the IR spectrum. So we have seen the different type of detector which plays an important role here in the IR spectrophotometer used. Now next comes the sample preparation, again which is an important part of the IR spectrometry, how the samples are prepared. So first of all, let's see the different type of solvents which are used in the IR spectroscopy. The common solvents includes this carbon tetrachloride CCl4, carbon disulfide CS2, and chloroform CHCl3. How the sample is being prepared? The sample that is, the sample preparation can be done by three different methods. Solid sampling can be used, liquid sampling can be used, or gaseous sampling also can be done. Let's see one by one. Solid sampling can be done by these four ways: solid run in a solution, solid films, Nusol-Mull technique, and pressed pellet technique. Solid run in a solution: if a suitable solvent which is transparent in IR region is found to dissolve the solid, then solid can be run in the cells. Whereas the solid films, if a solid film is amorphous, then it can be deposited over KBr or NaCl cell, and thus it can be used as a sample. Nusol-Mull technique, this is the most common technique for the sample preparation. What happens here is the finely powdered sample is mixed with a small amount of paraffin oil, which is termed as naso, and it is molded to form a thick paste. Therefore, it is termed as Nusol-Mull technique. The paste is then allowed to spread between the IR transmitting windows, and thus the Nusol-Mull technique is being used. The last is the pressed pellet technique. So nothing important, but yes, the finely ground solid sample, again it is pressed in the form of a pellet in an evacuated die under pressure. So this is how a small pellet or the form of a small tablets are being prepared of the sample. If we want to opt liquid sampling, so liquid sodium chloride windows or the neat liquid, a drop of pure or the neat liquid is squeezed between the two rock salt plates to give a layer which has the thickness of 0.01 mm to 0.05 mm. So here NaCl or KBr cells can be used for liquid sampling. This is how the liquid sampling can be made. If we need to opt gas sampling, which is very not very common, very less number of organic compounds can be examined as gases. One of the example is 1,4-dioxane. So evacuated cylindrical cells which are equipped by suitable windows are being used up here for the gas sampling as shown in the figure. Now, this was about the instrumentation part of the IR spectroscopy. Now, what are the different applications of infrared spectroscopy? So, infrared spectroscopy finds its application in quantitative analysis by using Beer-Lambert law, as already discussed, and by the measurement using calibration graph, or by standard addition method, or by the quantitative analysis of gases, solids, uh, can be carried out easily by the help of IR spectroscopy. So IR spectroscopy is also helpful in determining the bulk structure of polymers. Like nylon 6,6, we can determine molecular weight of polymers by using this technique also. We have got quantitative analysis also as an application of IR spectroscopy. IR spectroscopy provides many spectral data which are very useful in qualitative analysis. So in qualitative analysis, it can be easily used to identify the compounds or their mixtures, because we can compare the spectra of unknown compounds with that of the reference spectra, which is already existing of the known compounds. So, for example, it can be used to identify acids, amines, alkynes, alkenes, aromatic compounds, many. The list is endless. It has IR spectroscopy, has its application in, again, differentiating, we can say, or determining the hydrogen bonding in a molecule, because there are two types of hydrogen bonding in a molecule: intermolecular and intramolecular hydrogen bonding, which can be easily differentiated by this by the help of infrared spectroscopy. It has many wide different use also, like IR spectroscopy provides information which is helpful in identification of cis trans isomers. It is also helpful in distinguishing the positional isomers of the compounds. It can also be used to determine the impurities present in a compound. So IR spectra can be useful to study the chemical kinetics of the reaction, as well as to determine the shape and symmetry of the molecule in few cases. It can also be used in studying the chemical equilibrium among the tautomers by giving the characteristic peaks at a characteristic frequencies. So there are many kind of advantages of infrared spectroscopy. For example, it can be the data. It is very high speed spectroscopy, or the data, we can get the information in very short time. So this is the advantage of using infrared spectroscopy, that is, we can get the information within 1 second even. A high resolution is yet another advantage of the this IR spectroscopy. So, high sensitivity is yet another advantage with FTIR. And so, if this infrared spectroscopy nowadays could detect the sample as small as 1 to 10 grams only. So, IR spectrophotometer or spectrometer does not need to use slit and monochromator if we use FTIR then. So, very high, they are very highly sensitive instruments. Wide range of applications, as we have just now seen. Therefore, it has got its own advantage in basically in qualitative and quantitative analysis also. We get huge amount of information about the different types of compounds, functional group associated with it, the stereoscopic structure of the compound, position of the subsequent or the substituted group, etc. And this is a non-destructive, that is, it is the sample remains undestructed. So the sample is not destroyed by using infrared spectroscopy, which is also an advantage of spectroscopy, IR spectroscopy. IR spectroscopy also suffers from some limitations, like sample constraint is always there. Water, if water is used as a solvent or water is present, this spectroscopy cannot be used because water tends to absorb infrared radiation. Spectrum is little complicated. Sometimes it is not very easy to understand the spectrum. Quantification, that is, infrared spectroscopy works well with qualitative analysis, but with quantitative analysis, it has got some limited conditions, that is, under some limited conditions only it can be studied. So not much of the quantitative analysis can be done by IR. So here is the difference between UV visible and infrared. After studying both UV visible and infrared, we can easily differentiate between the two spectroscopy. The first difference is the range in which the UV visible spectroscopy and IR spectroscopy are being studied. The second important difference is the theory part of it, on what basis in UV visible spectroscopy electronic transitions are taking place or electronic excitation are occurring, whereas in IR radiation stretching and bending are taking place or the vibrational changes are occurring. So again, the next difference is its wide use. So the UV visible spectroscopy has its own different applications, whereas the IR spectroscopy has its own different applications. So they have got their own advantages and as well as their limitations. So the spectrum which we are getting of out of UV visible and IR are also different. So here these are the various differences between UV visible spectroscopy and the infrared spectroscopy. So with this, we come to the end of the second video lecture on infrared spectroscopy. We have covered the principle, the instrumentation, as well as the application of the infrared spectroscopy. Hope you all have understood this infrared spectroscopy in detail. Thank you and happy learning.